Hi, this is Pat McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the soundbites. Joining me in studio today is Alan Rubble, who is the co-author of The Greatest Burden, The Greatest Blessing. It is an incredible book, and we'll be talking about it. Here it is. It's a really beautiful cover design. I love it.
Thank you, Pat.
It's very nice. And it's about being a caregiver. I don't know if there's more to that, but I've asked Alan, we did a show quite a while ago, but I asked him to come back because, as many of you know, my husband has Parkinson's, and I joined a Parkinson's group, and it's half people with Parkinson's and half caregivers, and you don't realize how many people are providing service to somebody, providing help to a loved one, not necessarily their immediate partner, but somebody in their family. And we had a discussion the other day about being caregivers and how important it is to take time for yourself. And that's what we're going to talk about today, because I think there's a lot of caregivers out there who may not know that they are not alone. And there's places they can go to talk and get some help. So Alan, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so appreciative for the opportunity to share, Pat.
No problem.
I'm very appreciative that you've invited me tonight. There are 65 million personal givers and growing in the world today. And
what did you call them?
Personal caregivers. That doesn't include all the paid caregivers, which is many, many. But what happens, especially in today's world where funding is being cut and there's not enough nurses and not enough aides, what's happening is they're putting they need more help from the people that are the personal caregivers. And that doesn't mean you can't use the home health and hospice, because boy, I'll tell you, thank God for home health and hospice.
Well, you're involved with that a little bit.
I was on the board of directors of Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice, and I chaired their development committee while I was on that.
Great.
So I have a background. I haven't scratched the scratch. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse, but I can say I'm a personal caregiver and have been. Yeah.
Well, you've certainly had the experience, but I was on the board too at Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice, and then I'm actually still on one of the committees to help do some assigning to get them on the ballots and stuff. But great organization. Sandy Roos does. She's an amazing woman. Anyway, let us tell us about you and your background a little bit. Tell people who you are, and maybe you can sneak in that Sports Hall of Fame thing, because I think that's great.
Well, I just resigned on the board, but I was I would say co-founder. I brought up the idea, but anybody can come up with an idea. It takes an amazing board of directors. But the Hall of Fame honors the top athletes that have come through Vermont and are from Vermont. And every year, what we do is we have a banquet, and we honor anywhere from 10 to 13 honorees that are brought in. And what's so great about this is not only do we honor them, but the money we raise, half of it goes to Prevent Child Abuse Vermont.
Right.
And we've raised, I might be off a little on this, but around $40,000 for them over the number of years.
Wow.
And we have a banquet every April. And
yes, I've been to a couple of them because I was on the board of
Prevent Child Abuse. Right? Yeah. So it's been a big part of my life, and it'll always be, because.
That's great. Well, thank you for that, because it's and the ceremonies that you do, they're beautiful. They're very meaningful. It's great.
You know, if anybody, it's one of the most inspirational evenings I think I've ever witnessed, and I recommend if people can go to the banquet, and because it sells out, so you want to make sure and get tickets for it. It's in April.
So, but you also have an actual job.
Yeah, I have a company called, I involved with a company called Proforma. I sell, I'm semi-retired, but I sell promotional products and printing, business documents, and multimedia. Been doing that for 30 years.
Great.
And do a lot of apparel and things like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a good. Do you do business cards, or is that some?
We do. If it doesn't move, we print on it.
There you go. I got to get them reprinted. I'll have to chat with you after the show. You should talk. We need to talk about this book because it's just amazing. And you were telling me a little about Rashida Ali, and we know that name Ali, and Brett Miller, and maybe you can talk a little bit about them
Absolutely.
and their involvement in the book.
Well,
This is a beautiful book.
Rashida Ali, you've heard the name Ali, is Muhammad Ali's daughter. And she took care of him. Her sisters and her took care of Muhammad when he had Parkinson's. And we met Rashida through Brett Miller, who was also, Rashida wrote the foreword to the book. And Brett Miller also wrote it. We had two forwards to the book, and Brett also wrote a foreword. Brett started a gym in Massachusetts called 110 Gym. And it's now, the concept is spread all over the country. What it is he teaches people with neurological diseases, mainly Parkinson's, how to box. Now, they don't actually fight each other, but they found that the movements and training of boxers helps people with Parkinson's or people with any other neurological disease. So
That's great.
So they wrote an incredible foreword, both of them separately, and I think we're so thankful to them for their sharing of their time to do this.
I don't know how you want to explain the book itself, because you've got about, what, 35, or is that
We
it?
got over 40. There's 43
okay.
stories. It's not about how to be a caregiver. It's sharing stories about caregivers that from all walks. That of different diseases. In fact, we've even got a caregiving of a dog in the book.
Really? Wow. I could relate to that right now.
We've got stories on addiction, stories from Parkinson's, cancer. I could go on, and heart disease. And it tells people what they go through, but the goal and the mission of ours is to share with people the blessings that come out of the terrible burdens of caregiving.
And you are a caregiver, we're a caregiver
Well,
yourself, and is that how it started?
Well, how it started was my father passed away in 1998, and we wanted to keep him at home when he was ill. So we took care of him at home, thankful to the angels at Home Health and Hospice to help us keep him at home. And so at that time, I went through a process of taking care of my dad, and at the time, Sharon, my other half, helped me with this. And unfortunately, back in 2005, Sharon came down with cancer, a very rare form of cancer called neuroendocrine cancer, which took us a while to figure it out. And she had so many tumors in her liver, and she was misdiagnosed with liver cancer. And what's amazing about this is, if you saw her back then, Sharon was a beautiful woman, inside and out. But if you saw her back then, you wouldn't think she was sick. She looked great, she felt great, she acted great, no symptoms. But through an accident of doing a scan, they found these tumors. So we went through the process. We ended up going to Boston and getting a misdiagnosis at one of the large hospitals.
Wonderful.
They told her that she had 3 to 6 months to live.
Oh my God.
And you got to remember, like I said, she looked wonderful.
Right.
So we said, okay. And this statement is really important. People, especially with cancer, should always get a second opinion. I think if there's anything that I can stress tonight, because they wanted her to go on chemo and to go on because they thought she had liver cancer. Well, we get a second opinion at Mass General, and they wanted to do all their own tests all over again. And they did it, and within a few days, they came back, they did all the tests. They came back and they said, here's the good news and here's the bad news. The good news is you do not have liver cancer, but you do have cancer. This is a slow-moving cancer. Sharon she passed away in 2018, and she lived for 13 years.
Wow.
And we went every 3 weeks from Barre, Vermont to Mass General. And she had, And she started out, until things got worse, then they had the treatments added
Right.
but that's why I really, really try to stress to people to always get
Right.
second opinions.
Right.
And during this period of time, I met one of my best friends. His name is Mike Tenali, is one of the co-authors of the book. And Sharon and I actually started this in the very beginning. We started talking about it. We started putting our ideas about, because she saw it when she worked with me with Dad, and we started thinking about doing something like this. Well, Mike Tenalia was sitting in a room waiting with a number of other people and myself for his wife Linda and Sharon to come out of their operations and waiting to go into recovery. So we were waiting in this waiting room, and I have what I call a 3-step plan. And I do this in life. I talk to anybody 3 steps away from me. So I talked to Mike, and I said, I asked him who he was, what he did, and he was the vice president at that time with the Clinton Bank of Operations. So we started talking, and when you meet people sometimes, you really get excited.
Right.
Someone you know
Chemistry.
that you want to get to know. Well, Mike and I started talking, and I realized his wife had cancer, but a different type she had thyroid cancer. Sharon had neuroendocrine cancer that started in her liver, but there was an unknown primary, and that's a lot of people have an unknown primary with neuroendocrine cancer. We started talking, and as we're talking, they called both of us at the same time. Both women came into recovery. So they called us in, and we went into this. It's a huge recovery room, and we found that both women were lying next to each other, talking to each other.
Oh, there you go.
So it was meant to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, as I invited Mike, as we got to know each other, and Sharon got to know Linda, and Linda got to know, to join me in this book. And we made a decision to go after people that are caregivers in different areas and have them tell their story. And again, it wasn't about how to be a caregiver, but the stories we're finding, we had so many. It's a really hard job to be a caregiver. There's a lot of areas that you don't find until you get into it. You do. There's so many, like in the beginning. What do you do? Who do you go to? How do you? It's just so many questions. Right. And we started going after people, and from the people we knew. And then they led us to other people.
Great.
And other people led us to other people.
Yeah.
And we've got some amazing stories in this book. Like I said, Rashida Ali did the foreword. You've heard of, I'm sure, Travis Roy.
How did that connection happen? Who knew Rashida? How'd that
Brett
go?
Miller was a friend of, that gets to our other author, Mark Resnick. We asked Mark to join us. Mark also has he's a publisher. He's in the same business I'm in with another company, but I've known him for a long time. And he wrote a book called 10 Days with Dad, where he took care of his father with Alzheimer's. So we all joined together to put this book in motion.
Right.
And we'd already have a number. I already had a number of people I talked to. Mike knew a lot of people. Mark, and what was great about Mark was that not only was he an author, but there were certain people that wanted to be in the book but couldn't write the stories. So Mark would interview them. We'd have everybody
nice.
sign off.
I was going to ask you that because it's very readable.
Yes.
And
So
I thought, somebody must have had some help.
I'd say it's about 60% wrote their own stories. Mark, with interviewing these people, then we would not do any stories unless they signed off and made sure they were comfortable with it. Travis and Brenda Roy. Travis Roy is probably one of the best known stories about his parents, Lee and Brenda. They live in Florida in winter, and they live in in Malice Bay area. Forgive me, that north in the north of Lake Champlain.
Right.
Travis Roy was a hockey player. He loved hockey. His dream was to go to play at Boston College.
Oh,
His dream was to go to the NFL. His dream was to go to the Olympics.
wow.
One of his first dreams came true. He played for Boston College.
Oh, great.
11 seconds onto the ice, he was checked into the boards and paralyzed for life.
Oh, my.
And Travis Roy is pretty well known in Vermont and in
Yeah,
Massachusetts.
because I know
and
the name.
Well-
I can't pinpoint it, but I know the name.
What's amazing about Travis Roy is that this story is one of the ones in the book. He said, "Okay, I have this issue. I'm paralyzed. What can I do to make my life to help other people?" They started in the Essex area. It's called Little Fenway, Little Wrigley,
right, yes,
and
right.
Little Field of Dreams.
Right.
Every year they'd raise $1 million a year. They raised, I might be off $1 million, $26 million to help other people that were paralyzed. And he would be on television. In fact, he even had a story. He wrote a book called 11 Seconds. And he's been on TV. It's an amazing, amazing story. And it talks about Lee and Brenda in our book, how they dealt with the issue. In that area, they had to have help because they just couldn't take care of Travis alone. But the family got involved and they brought in the right people. And they had the insurance that they needed. And I always tell people, make sure that you're covered because you never know when a catastrophic illness can hit.
11 seconds.
11 seconds onto the ice.
And would somebody just push them into the
They
boards?
they
or-
checked him. It's called checking into the boards, and he just hit it right, and his dream ended.
Right.
But it
It
really
sounds like
started.
He turned it into a real positive.
He turned it into something. He found the blessing out of the burden,
Right.
and that's what the book does.
I hope God, that I could do the same. That's very hard. I think it's hard to do.
Yeah.
I would think. But
Oh, it's very hard to do,
that's so easy.
and some of them it's hard to find the blessings because there's so many massive burdens in the caregiving.
Right.
You never know when the call will come, because the call with us came by a scan by accident. The call with Travis Roy came because of the accident. One of the other stories in our book is my cousins in Burlington had a son that was an addict, a drug addict. And they basically they came to a point where they didn't know what to do. And they got him into facility after facility. And it came to a point where either he resolved the issue, because you can't make anybody do anything.
Right.
You can only give information and
Right.
try your best. And you can't give up, but there comes a point. Well, his name was Brian. And Brian basically came to a point where because he almost died, and it was either him living or him dying, he made a choice to live. And what he did was not only did he live, in fact, one of the things in the book, there's a number of stories in the back of the book about not only the caregivers in the beginning, but a few of them are of stories from Brian to his mom and dad saying thank you.
Oh, wow.
So he not only became cured. I don't think you're ever cured, whether you're an alcoholic or
Under control, maybe.
But what he did was he started one of the largest facilities to help people that are addictions in Florida, and completely turned his life around, finding the blessing. He and his parents found the blessing to help other people through what he went through.
That's great.
And that's another story in the book.
Yeah.
There's a woman from Montpelier, her name is Joyce, and Joyce had a terrible relationship with her sister. And it was just where she blames herself. She says, I really was jealous of my sister. But it was a terrible relationship. Well, her sister came down with cancer, came down with other issues. And she said, as angry as I am at my sister, what I'm going to do is I'm retired now. I'm going to move away to her place. I'm going to take, she's an artist. She's an amazing artist, actually. Her name is Joyce Kahn. And Joyce said, I'm going to help her. Well, she ended up doing things she never believed she could do. Making her meals, traveling, going in a larger city, and really spending time. What's amazing about this is the blessing was that when this is all over, her sister and her became best friends.
Oh, I bet. Wow.
So that's the type of stories that are in there, and I could go on and on.
Well, because I think people if they get better, it's because they're home.
Yeah.
And they get better faster when they're surrounded. I
Yep.
just had a good friend go home today after being in Woodridge for a couple of weeks. And I talked to somebody who was going into another section of Woodridge to stay. And I thought, that's very hard to go into an assisted living place and know that's home's gone. That's out of the question. It's really sad.
But you can't, there's sometimes that people have to go to these places. It's not where you do your best. They want, to help them, but they're there because sometimes you just can't take care of.
Yep.
But the things that you can take care of, you want to keep, the best thing is to try to keep people at home if they want to be there.
Right. And if you can handle it, right?
Yeah. Mike and Mark and I have a mission. And yes, we are a company that sells, our book is a for-profit. We're not a non-profit.
Right.
But we give so many books away. And our model is a little bit different. If someone wants to go on Amazon and buy a book or go to a bookstore and buy a book, they can do it. They can order it. But we have a website called caregivingguys.com.
Oh.
Caregivingguys.com.
We'll put that on our lower third there.
And what happens is that you can go on there and it tells our story on there as a link to go to our website to order the books. And we're now in the process of looking into doing an audiobook for people. But that's gonna take a while to produce and and our mission, number one, is to help other caregivers and to help them understand and be of value to them. We've even got references in there of where to go for certain things. It's a maze out there to try to, if someone automatically, the call comes, you're in the middle of the beginning stages, the middle, you don't even know what to do.
Right.
So this is one of the things the book can help with.
What we talked about yesterday in our meeting was that caregivers, they need to find time for themselves. And if they even step away for a while, it's okay. Because you need to be okay. And sometimes you don't even know, it sneaks up on you, the impact of being a caregiver.
Thank you for bringing that up, Pat, because one of the most important things is if you cannot take care of yourself, you can't take care of a caregiver.
Right.
And the biggest challenge is people try to do it all themselves, and it did a job on me. In fact, of having issues with sleep apnea because for 13 years I couldn't sleep, being up half the night.
Right.
And I found that I also got involved. I had to find something to keep me busy, but I kept working. But I ended up changing things to make it easier for myself. And I got involved, believe it or not, I'm 79, but about 15 years ago, actually it wasn't 12 years ago, I started throwing the javelin.
Oh.
And I've actually, Vermont has what you call senior games. And I've won Vermont the last, I think, 8 or 9 years in a row. I've gone to nationals. I've thrown in New Hampshire and Maine and Connecticut. And it's become important part of my life because I enjoy it.
That's
Keeps me
great.
busy. The problem is I also have an issue with balance, and I have an issue with vertigo. But I use
So
this.
that should
Yeah.
help you, shouldn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does help me, but I'm always aware of throwing that I don't fall, because there's been times where
Yeah.
I went further than the javelin. So,
Well, I should introduce you to my daughter because that was her sport in high school, and she was darn good. She threw the javelin.
oh, I'd be on. I again, does it go very far? Not really, but it goes far enough to. And we have about 500 athletes in the state of Vermont from different things, and from bowling to, not bowling, I'm sorry, from every sport in the Olympics is involved. I don't think the hammer is though, but they even have deadlifting. They have everything. You have to be 50 years old or older. There's one woman, her name is Flo Myler. Flo Myler, she has won the world record in a relay. She's won many, has more gold medals than anybody I know.
Wow. Right.
She pole vaults. She throws the javelin. Now, the question is, how old is she?
Oh.
She's in her 90s.
Oh, my word. Bless her.
There's people that are in their 80s and 90s, and all the way, and it's keep moving.
Yep.
Keep moving, and that's
That's interesting.
yeah.
I'm 82, and I'm not sure I could do any of that stuff.
See, you never know what you can do because
Oh.
there's all, you don't have to do any sports. You can walk.
Right.
There's things you can do, and
Yeah.
so everybody has. I think if you want to stay healthy, you got to do that. Yeah. I know my biggest challenge is eating.
Oh,
I'm battling this, but I'm trying.
Yeah.
And I'm trying very
Well,
hard.
there's so much information out there now about what to eat, what not to eat, and they're trying to really make our foods healthy, and it's kind of scary listening to what's in them. From
Absolutely.
Washington, where they're talking about, well, they have this additive and that additive, and you shouldn't eat it because
You're right, Pat.
It's overwhelming, actually.
You're right, but I think one of the thing is, for me now I'm talking,
Yeah.
I realize that in order for me to lose weight and to be healthy, I just got to have the willpower and to stop eating 3 times more than I need, and the sweets I don't need to have,
Right.
and the carbs that I don't have to have. But it's a balance. Anybody, you can go to read all these books, you can go to all these courses, but if you don't have the willpower to do it, and it's called, Alan, be a big boy now.
Well,
it's time.
I shouldn't put this on the TV. I told my husband, I said, see this body, get used to it. Because I just can't, I don't have the willpower for it, I do try to eat less and all that stuff, but I don't go full out with a full, diet and strict this and don't do this, so.
Yeah.
But I'm staying at the same level, so that's good.
Well, it's part of the caregiving too. It's part of helping the person that you're caregiving eat properly and make sure they eat and
Right.
take their medications. And again, this is very difficult. If someone's sick, you can't be there 24/7. And don't be scared. I'm jumping back into the caregiving part,
please.
but don't be scared to understand, to realize that it's not easy. Right. It's not because the person, because they love you, it's because you're going to say things that hurt.
Right.
And because they love you, they're able to know that in most cases that you're going to be there. And anything they say, but it's hard.
Well, I think sometimes though the patient, if you use that word, they're angry.
Exactly.
They don't want to have whatever it is
Exactly.
they have. They're angry, and sometimes you might get the brunt of it, and it's not meant.
Yeah.
It just is,
Well, I think I mentioned to you before that I'm in a new relationship now. I'm blessed to have this woman in my life. She's, again, a beautiful woman, both inside and out. But this summer, she came down with cancer. So now, Thank God it's a curable cancer.
Yep.
And so this is 3 times. And I'm tired.
Yeah, right, exactly. Don't want to hear that word anymore.
Yeah. But you know what? I think because I went through what I went through, it made it easier to understand what I have to do.
Right.
But it was a different type of cancer. So the things that I did before were different. So you have to, again, go through the same, what do I do? How do I go about it? Sharon, when she had cancer, it wasn't chemo. There wasn't radiation involved. So I had no background on that. So it was like a learning curve again. It was like the traveling every day to Burlington.
Right.
But I think we fought it. We're in a battle right now, and we're going to continue fighting. But thank God, we think she's cured.
Well, when I first got diagnosed, I was scared because the word scares you to death. And I went over to the legislature. I was working at the state at that time. And so many legislative women came up to me and said, I had it 25 years ago. I had it 10 years ago. I had a mastectomy. They're all over the place. And you don't hear about these women. You hear about people like your wife and people that have passed away. And that's what you focus on. But there are so many people walking around well and having beat the cancer and life goes on and how great. But you don't hear about that. You hear about the other folks.
It's important, Pat, that you go to a doctor consistently, you get a primary, you don't put stuff off, you catch it early enough.
Exactly.
It's it's possible that you're going to be cured.
Right.
Or you're going to live a long life through because they've come a long ways.
Right.
The biggest challenge we have now is, I'm not getting into politics, but I am going to say that it's a scary time when funding is cut for healthcare.
Yep.
And if you don't have the right healthcare, especially if a chronic illness happens, you'll people that are our age, okay? You're younger than I am.
No, I'm older than you are.
You're younger than I am.
Okay,
They
I'll
don't
take it.
realize that if you have a chronic illness, Medicare, comes to an end if you're in the hospital for a certain period of time.
Oh, I heard that.
Medicare comes to an end if you're in a home for, and if you are forced into Medicaid, you could lose everything.
Wow.
So it's important that people understand
Yeah.
the whole, what Medicare actually, what it does.
Right.
And understand more and more people that are becoming caregivers are having to learn more and more things because there isn't enough aides, there isn't enough nurses.
Well, you certainly will. I always say, you've got to, if you don't speak up, and I mean speak up, and maybe even yell to get the service that you need, and to get somebody to explain it to you, because if you just sit, you're not gonna be able to help yourself.
Our doctors and our nurses, and they're 99.9% are amazing. Do you have a few ones that, of course, but what happens is that they're overworked.
Right.
They can't handle what they have.
Yep.
And they are going to, especially with now the funding that's being potentially, and it looks like it could happen, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We're in real trouble because we're in an aging, especially in Vermont, we're an aging population. But again, it doesn't have to be an aging population. There's more and more people that have issues. But Mark and Mike and I, we're here to be of value.
Right.
Good. Call me, email me, text me.
Well, I had asked you to come talk to my group, and you said have you been talking to groups around the state?
I've talked
the Rotary
to. I've been on radio.
Else?
I've been on TV with super seniors. I've been talking to all synagogues, churches. Invite me. I want to share our mission.
I I Googled your name and up popped the Senior Citizens Program. That was a great show, and congratulations.
Thank you.
That was very nice for Joe Carroll.
Thank
Joe
you.
Carroll, right?
Joe's amazing,
Yeah,
man.
right.
I mean, there's a guy that should be on Super Seniors. He's amazing. So happy he asked me.
Yeah, that's really great, because that gets a lot of coverage.
Yeah.
I think everybody watches that to see who.
You should be on Super
Oh, yeah,
Seniors.
right.
You should. Look what you've done more to help more people in Vermont. People don't realize how much that you.
No,
and
but
your
I think my
family-
name is a name you just hear. I'm not being funny, and I'm not upset or worried about it. They just, oh, Pat McDonald, and they know me, but they don't know me. You know what I'm saying? It's
Well,
just
they
I've been
should.
I've been around way too much.
Yeah, you've helped more people, and like you're doing today, and it's just. I'm very blessed to have known
I
you
really
and know you.
like it, and I've always appreciated people. And I like when I work, I never consider myself the boss.
Yeah.
I always made sure I got to know all the employees, and when we went to motor vehicles, it was the employees that turned that service around. It was 2.5 hour wait. By the time they got finished, it was a 20-minute wait, and it wasn't me, it was them. So that's how you do it.
Well, thank you for
Oh, well,
being.
thank you for saying
Thank
that.
you for being who you are, Pat.
Thank you. You can embarrass me, my goodness. But back to the book. When you talk now, when you're talking to groups, I'm just wondering, because I heard some comments the other day in this group, and I'm not going to share because it's kind of a cone of silence thing.
Understand.
You know, and but have you heard anything that really surprises you, or I was blown away by one or two of the comments, what people are worried about and face in real life? Maybe I'm not making any sense, but I know one thing I can share is one person asked, what does it mean to die of Parkinson's? They needed to know what they were facing, whether it was 5 years from now or 10 years from now. What does it look like? And I
Well,
thought, wow.
I think the question should be, how can I live with Parkinson's? Not about
That
what
is
does it
great.
go. That's the question, because you see, I had this again happen with Sharon. You have 3 to 6 months to live. Well, first of all, that wasn't true. Okay.
Right.
Second of
Shame
all,
on them.
where is it written that anyone has? You don't know. You just don't know. And whatever time you're given, you need to make
Right.
the
That's
best
great.
life you can.
That should have been the answer. It wasn't, but it should have been.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to revisit that next meeting.
Yep.
That's a great answer.
And but it's like everything else. We don't know what, we don't know what each day is a blessing.
Right.
And it's just, you don't know what's going to happen. So the best you can is do the best you can and be the best Pat McDonald, be the best Alan Rubble you can. I want to share this with you because, everybody strives to make the most money, okay? And we all need to survive, to make a living, to pay our bills. But that's not what makes people happy. If you don't have your family and your health and your friends and your faith, that's what's important in life.
Right.
And you work towards your passion, okay, everything else will fall in place. And that's what I've learned.
That's great.
That's what I've learned through this whole experience. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't had bad days, but I try to limit them.
Right.
And I try to do the things that I've made enough mistakes in my life, and probably more mistakes than most people have ever made. But I'm trying very hard to do the right thing now.
I think one of the things that would help people, because you mentioned all the services that are available.
Yeah.
But I don't think people know, every time I go back to state government, they're always talking about making the portal, one door, and you just ask the question and it's never happened.
No,
It's never happened. There's never been a consistency of, oh, you have Parkinson's. Here, this is what you need, but just never happened. And it's very hard to navigate.
That's a very, very good point. And what I found is that what should happen is there should be, not be a maze, go on the internet, try to find stuff, because
Right.
it's such a maze, it's impossible. What there should be is people are aware of where you can go to get the help. Where each home health and hospice, any council on aging. I
Right.
never knew the council on aging had so much for caregivers. And they do, they have an amazing program.
For caregivers.
Yeah, for
I'll have
council
to
on
go
aging.
check that out.
See, that should be out there for home health and hospice should be sharing that with council on aging.
Yeah.
Council on aging should be sharing that with home health and hospice.
'cause it's not
The
a competition.
hospital- Right. It should be, and there should be something where a site is set up where to go for things.
Right, but they talk about this, Alan, was in state government almost 20 years. And I bet for 20 of them,
Well-
every year it was like, we're gonna get a portal, and it
Yeah,
just
but there's
never happens.
Yeah, it's happening, but you don't know where it's happening. You might
Oh.
have something at Dartmouth. You might have something at, but nobody knows.
Right, right.
And it's something that, let's put it this way, it has to be done.
Yeah, for
Not
sure.
where, well, we should do it.
Yeah. I
And
get all these calls, oh, it's already being done, but it's not.
it's not being done.
Because if, I'm not being funny, if I'm a regular person, if I don't hear it or know it, what good is it?
It's being done in, I know there's a program, they're working on a program at Dartmouth. But how many people know
Yeah,
to
for
do
sure.
that?
I wouldn't have,
Yeah.
I wouldn't even think of Dartmouth.
There's, put our money in the right places, and there's a right place. Because more and more personal caregivers are gonna need that help. Where do I go when it's just happened?
Right.
How do I find a cure? What do I, what other services are available? If someone dies, now there are grief, like every home health
Yes,
and hospital has
yes.
something. But here's what happens. When if a person passes away, after that grief period, the personal caregiver drops off the map.
Right,
And they still have all those issues.
right,
Um,
right.
My friend, my best friend, Mike Tenalia, just lost his wife a year ago. And the blessing that he had and the blessing that I had was him and he helped me after Sharon died. I helped him
There you go,
after Linda died.
right.
One of the amazing stories about that happened, one of the blessings, hurt at the time, but it was a real blessing for me. The day after Sharon died, I went home and I fell asleep on the couch. About 8 o'clock in the morning, there was a knock on the door, and I went to the door, and there was a woman I didn't recognize, and she came up to me and says, "Is Sharon home?" And I said, "I don't know if you heard, but Sharon passed away yesterday."
Oh, my God,
And
what time?
she looked at me and she started crying, and I started crying, and I gave her a hug. She says, "You don't remember me, but I remember you, because Sharon was in the hospital laying next to me at Center Vermont Medical, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here today."
Oh, my
See,
God.
what Sharon did was, even though she was so sick, she really spent so much time helping the person next to her.
Nice,
That was the blessing, and
Right.
that's what we should take a lesson from that in
Right.
life.
oh, my God, what timing for that woman to
Yeah.
come, something must
Yeah.
have triggered something in her.
Yep.
You know what I found in this meetings is that there's no cookie cutter approach. Everybody is different, and I think you need to take the time, whether they're a patient or a caregiver. Everybody's different, and they've got to find that blend of things that will make them
Yep.
get through it or be successful in the blessings. And
Yeah.
but nobody. It's not the same for anybody.
And some people, like, when we ask people to be part of this book, not most of them did it, but a number of them didn't, and because they couldn't, it was painful, and it is painful.
Sure.
And a lot of people might not feel comfortable with the book, but most of them will, because there's stories that finding the blessings,
Yep.
finding, oh, I didn't realize that I should have done this, or even after the point. And some people say, well, does everybody die in the book? No, there's people that have lived through the book. But yes, some people do. And that's just, that's life.
And I think it stays with you. You mentioned somebody that after the person died, the caregiver still.
We go on.
It was almost like, what do they call it, when, after war and stuff, when you have PTSD, I'm sure it's not, I'm hoping it's not as severe as that, but there's that feeling, I would think.
Yeah, and that, we try to cover, there's a few things in there we didn't cover, but we've tried to cover everything that we could to be of value to everybody.
What would be those things you didn't cover?
I think one of the most important things, because if I'm not all I can tell you is there's a few things that are in there that are not in there. I don't remember, to be honest with you. There's a couple of them that I really don't want to talk about.
But things of that happened, or I'm just trying to get a
certain areas of disease that we weren't covering. There's so many.
Yeah, right.
That we weren't covering, and
okay, so it's related to the disease more than
what the
caregiver did.
Yeah, related to the disease of. I'm not trying to be evasive.
Oh,
with
no,
that,
I appreciate it. I just was curious what it was, but
there's certain diseases because people couldn't get finished what we wanted, and we're coming to a point where we could never end it.
Yeah.
And
so this book could be yay thick. You'll be yay thick.
Yes.
Yes. Could go on forever. And I don't think there are so many people, just like the people that came to me and said, I've had cancer, it actually made me feel great because they're here and telling me that I had no idea. And these are women walking around, hi, how are you? We had lunch together, dinner together, nobody says anything. And here they are, 5 years, 10 years. And
I think it's important, and some people are so personal, which is fine if that's what they want. But you got to ask for help and be specific of what you're looking for. And that doesn't mean you're always going to get it. And you're going to be let down by people that could be family members, it could be for whatever reason. And it hurts. But you're there because you're taking care of your loved one.
And that relationship is so important.
Oh.
I mean, and when my mom was, she had, oh my God, it's a memory.
Alzheimer's or
no,
dementia?
Dementia, thank you. Just went blank, but dementia. But she always knew my sister and I right to the very end. Didn't know anybody else. And we always felt speaking of blessings, very grateful for that. But it was my sister had most of it because she was living with my sister. It was hard. It was just, my mother was very strong. And now she's not. And I would find myself getting annoyed sometime, and I just want to just slap myself and say, cut it out. She's your mom, but she is different. I mean, things have changed.
And I've learned so much about things like that. And again, I'm not an expert, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nurse, but I've learned a number of things, and that's probably one of the hardest things, because there's certain recommendations and certain things that, like Alzheimer's, tells you but you got to take the time to go to Alzheimer's and say, okay, and they can help you so much. Howard, he's the executive director up there in Burlington, I know, with Alzheimer's. Amazing man. Yeah. Amazing man.
Because that's the thing, that not everybody is the same.
Yeah.
I have somebody in my family, I keep calling about him because it's happening so fast. He's already in a nursing home, and it's just happening. And unfortunately, his wife is a nurse, but that's not helping as much as you would think, because it's not the technical skills, it's the relationship that's not
so
risky,
hard.
but it's terrible.
So hard. And it's like, choose something.
Right.
I guarantee you this, everybody has something. If they don't, they're going to.
Right.
That's the way life is.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we got to do the best we can.
It's in the cards. Well, we have a few minutes left, Alan. have we covered everything you'd like to cover in this? Because it is just
Well, I
amazing.
think
Is there
there'll be
anything we-
questions. If people, please feel free, go to our website,
Yeah, do that again,
caregivingguys.com.
guys. Okay. All right.
caregivingguys.com, and please feel free to get a hold of me. And if there's any, again, if I don't have answers, I'll be glad to try my very, very best. I do promise this from this. I will do the best I can to help anybody.
Thank you. You have a quote here from James Douglas.
Yes, Governor Douglas.
Governor Douglas, may I read it? Because it's
Absolutely,
beautiful.
please.
This man is so. I just saw him the other day at somebody's funeral, and he just knows what to say, and when to say it.
He's the salt of the earth.
Yes, he is incredible.
He's the salt of the
so
earth.
Governor Douglas says the greatest blessing beautifully captures the full range of emotions, burdens, and yes, blessings of caregiving. Most importantly, it shows us what we're capable of enduring in the name of love. Well, that'll get you.
Yeah, powerful.
Horror me while I cry. Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know what you can do. You don't think you can do it, but you do it.
That's right.
Because here we are, and who else? That's great.
I'm so appreciative, Pat.
Well, thank you.
And
We'll get it out and let people hear us, and hopefully they'll call you if they've got questions. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
thank you all for tuning in. This is Pat
Thank you.
McDonald, your host for Vote for Vermont, where our tagline is listening beyond the sound bites.